In this one, I'm going to show you how to make some animations that you can reuse over and over again. So for example, if someone's going to repeat the same action again and again, it's better than using what we did before with states. So just to show you how it looks, this just goes back and forth. And I have this action at the bottom here that says always loop this bad guy action, which is my bad guy. And I made the animation go from 0 to 120 frames, and that's how it loops over and over again. So let's do it together. All right, so first step is, in this case, my cube is going to be the bad guy. It's not going to be the good guy. So I have my timeline in here. I'm going to divide this again, and in this case it's going to be a little bit different. You're looking for dope sheet. I know it sounds funny, but anyways, so that's how it's going to be. And I'm just going to go over my view here. So I'm going to go through a side view or front view, doesn't really matter, and go to ortho so I can see, because that's the one to go back and forth that way. So I'm going to move it over to the side, and what I'm going to do is, my first step is to record an animation that I want to use over and over again. So to record an animation, if you look down here at the bottom of the Blender, you'll have a record button right here. So I am going to, before I record, I'm going to make this animation only 120 frames long. So I'm just going to drag this over to 120 so I'm not worried about all the rest. So I'm going to press record. So now it's recording any animations I'm doing. This part's a little tricky. So I'm going to move my cube to the left because that's where I want to start. And when I let go of my mouse button, notice that my keyframes get populated. Now, I want to do another animation at, let's say, frame 60. So I move it over to frame 60 by dragging, move my animation, whatever I want to do, over, and notice, look in the top right corner, it says auto keying on, and I'm going to let go. And now, here we go. I have now a new set of keyframes. If I go back and forth here, okay, this is my animation. Now I want my animation 120 to go back to where I started. The easiest way of doing that is right-clicking. Okay, if I press A to deselect, right-click the left set, so you notice that this goes white. Hold Shift-D, and just drag to 120, and click. And now I have, okay, back and forth, back and forth. So if I press P, let's see if this, oops, I have to go to game, Blender game, obviously. Okay, and why is that not working? Give me a second. Right, P didn't work because I haven't put any actions in it. But if I press play, okay, notice how it kind of slows down and then speeds up. If I did that again, okay, it kind of slows down there and speeds up. If I want to fix that and make it more fluid, if I go back to my first frame, make sure you're in frame 1 with all the keyframes here. If I go to key, and then I'm looking for interpolation and linear, okay, it's now going to make it smooth for the beginning, and I'll do that also in frame 60, same thing, key, linear. And now if I play it, you should notice that it goes, okay, there's no real slowdown. That's just being picky. You don't really need to do it. If you like the slow down part, that is fine. Okay, but now we want to have this as an animation that we can reuse anytime we want using our actions. So if I go to dope sheet down here and change it to action editor, I'm going to give it a name. So for example, it might be like arm movement, leg movement, whatever I want. In this case, I'm just going to call it moving. Okay. I don't want it to be just in this cube. I want to be able to use it wherever I want. So if I press on the F button here, notice at number 2. That means now we have 2 instances of this, and the second instance we'll use later in our actions. So I can close this first instance by pushing on the X, okay, and it gets rid of all of this stuff. But Blender has memorized that I have that action saved somewhere. So I will now change this to my logic editor. I guess I will do it. Actually, I can do it. Yeah, here's fine. Logic editor. I'm just going to make this a bit bigger. So now I want to add this action to whatever object I want. So I already have the cube here, so I'm just going to use the cube as a default. So I want this to always happen. Okay, let me zoom in a little bit here. Always happen. And what I want is I want the action to occur. So I want the action, let me just bring these up together. Now I could just play it once, but in my case, I want to loop. Loop end is fine. I'm not sure what loop stop's all about, but loop end is fine. And I want the action that I have. Remember, I named it moving. Now this has to match the frames that we had done before. Remember, we had started at frame 0 and ended at frame 120. Okay? And the rest doesn't really matter. So now if I press P, there is my animation. And now I can repeat that animation anywhere I want in any single object because Blender has memorized it. This is a great example for when you have a character that's always running, for example, or a hand movement, or an enemy is doing something. So have fun with that. Good luck.